Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the temporary Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. Now, there are a ton of commanders out there. I mean, in fact, last year we got, another 300 or 400 or so? A massive amount of commanders out there. But there are certain ones that I will not play. There are certain ones that I will not actually go build a deck around and, take to an LGS or, take to play against my friends for one reason or another. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot build around these commanders. I'm just going to give you my reasons why certain commanders, well, are no-goes for me. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So, first up, let's start off with one of the newest commanders from Phyrexia, All Will Be One. Yeah, that set that just came out. Spoiler season just end for that one. And I've already decided, yeah, Elesh, Norn, Mother Machines is a no-go for me. I will not build around this one. Anyways, really quick, a 4/7 Phyrexian Praetor Vigilance that costs 4 and a white. If a permanent enters battlefield causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, triggers additional time. Basically, Panharmonicon, but for all your things. And then also, permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger. So, kind of like a Torpor Orb, but a massive Torpor Orb that affects everything that your opponents have and nothing that you have. So, this commander, sure, can be a value engine that can help shore up some of Mono White's weaknesses. Now, that being said, the reason that I will not be personally building around this one is not because, well, it is a Mono White commander. I've built plenty of Mono White commanders before, but this one just kind of seems like it's on rails to me. This one is just, hey, go get all of the best ETBs that you have, in Mono White, essentially, and just chuck them in a deck. And yeah, it also just happens to shut down your opponent's things that they want to do as well, which, certain playgroups can definitely be very much against. Mine really isn't necessarily against just that. But yeah, just overall, again, this commander seems to be kind of an easy mode commander when it comes to just building it, and also just kind of a mean commander in a way against certain, strategies and whatnot. Now, there also has been some discussion about, the rules committee, considering this one for a ban. I believe they most recently said that they will not, at least for now, although Sheldon did say, that Sheldon definitely was pushing for the ban. Regardless, this is a commander that I do not believe is ban-worthy, but I will not be building around anytime soon, and by that I actually just mean, ever. Moving on, another commander from this brand new set, Phyrexia All Will Be One, that I will not be building around. That's going to be Unctus Grand Metatect. A 2/4 artifact, Phyrexian Vidalcan, that costs 1 blue that says, other blue creatures you control have whenever this creature comes tapped, you draw a card and then discard a card. Other artifact creatures you control get +1. By paying Phyrexian blue until end of turn, target creature control becomes a blue artifact, just with other types and colors. Activate only as a sorcery. So this one I think is an interesting commander. It's just a bit too easy to break. And when I say a bit too easy, very, very, very easy to break. I mean, I just did an Omega level deck tech around this one. And yeah, there are a lot of different combinations, even just on a budget. Even on a budget that I would be building on, again, every single card being less than $1. And if you get outside of that, yeah, there are certain cards like, a Fed of Alchemist that just can combo this incredibly quickly, incredibly easily. And it just, again, if I want to try to break something, I like to have a bit more effort into it. I like to do, a bit more kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine, not just, oh yeah, I got this one card that essentially just easily combos with this, and no idea why Wizards, designed this card in this way, but they did. So yeah, you can combo a bit too easily for my liking. So, Unctus Grand Metatect, yeah, I think you're an interesting commander, but I think that you're one that I will never be building around. And really quick, I do want to reiterate, if you want to build around this commander, great, go for it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, I'm just saying that I personally will not be doing that. And everyone's got their own play styles and their own likes and dislikes, and yeah, their play groups, like different things as well, so do what you want to do. Next up, though, we're moving out of Phyrexia, back one more set to Urza, Lord Protector from the Brothers' War. A 2/4 Human Artificer that costs 1 white-blue. Artifact instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. By paying 7, you can also, combine this in the Mightstone Weakstone, exile them, and they become Urza Planeswalker. Now, that's actually not the reason why I'm not going to be building around this one. The actual reason is just the front side of this card, though that backside is pretty incredibly powerful. Yeah, this side is also just broken, basically. I built a Joyroo deck a long time ago, one of my very first decks I ever built, and I very much enjoyed that deck, or at least I should say I enjoyed putting it together and, finding all the pieces to it and making it just a perfect engine. But Artifact Storm, which this commander most definitely would be, is just something that many players out there get bored of playing against. And even I at some point got bored kind of, just going through all the steps of it. And whereas Joyroo is drawing you cards, Urza is going to be reducing the cost of your artifacts, which it does your instant sorceries too, which also is very nice. But the most important part is that artifact, because, with that reduction, you can do some very broken things, but broken things that do take quite a long time to pull off. And sometimes that Artifact Storm works in your 20-minute turn, and sometimes it doesn't work, in your 20-minute turn, but then the next turn it might work. So, yeah, I'm trying to stay away from more specifically solitaire decks that tend to take up all the time because, well, although I might, enjoy putting them together and finding out all the pieces, actually playing them and, seeing other players' reactions when I do play them and see them fall asleep while I'm playing them, it's not what I'm going for. So yeah, Urza, Lord Protector, I'm skipping on you. Next up, another commander that I'm skipping on, but for a completely different reason, Blaster Combat DJ / Blaster Morale Booster. I'm actually just going to include every single one of these Transformer commanders that came out in whatever product this was. The set name is actually, or the set keyword is bot. Clever, yes, but I'm talking about those ones specifically. I believe that there are 15 in total. And the reason why it might not even be this product's fault. It might not even be, the actual card's fault. It's just that last year, at the end of the year, Wizards just had an absurd amount of products coming out back to back. And this one just kind of got like thrown to the side. It was just like, oh yeah, this is also here too. We're like, oh yeah, make sure you're excited. And it just kind of reminds me of, that time of just insane spoiler seasons that literally were just like, oh, spoiler season's up. Wait, new one. And these cards just, they don't really seem like actual Magic cards to me because of that. Maybe that will change over time. I don't think it will. These are kind of different with, the more than meets the eye, thing. I just, maybe it's, again, just a combination of when it came out, but it also just kind of seems like Wizards was like, you know what? Hasbro really wants us to push Transformers as well, so let's just... We're just gonna make this. This has to happen, okay? These are just like it's kind of like forced Commander, with Transformers included in the product. So yeah, none of these really speak to me. The whole product doesn't really speak to me. The art, unfortunately, didn't speak to me. Even though I did like like the old Transformers kind of stuff in some ways. Just overall, I'm passing on every single one of these Transformers commanders. Another commander that I'm going to be passing on that I originally didn't think I'd be passing on, but actually I had a discussion with Eddie, and yeah, this one is definitely one that I have kind of grown over time to be like, yeah, this one's probably not for me. Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice, a 2/2 Fox Advisor for 1 and a white, and I promise it's not because it's a mono-white commander again, okay? I promise. That's not the reason. Again, Shram was like the second deck I ever had on this channel, I think. Anyways, whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less than or equal to that aura with a different name than each aura you control. Put that card on the battlefield, attach Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice, then shuffle. Basically, with this one, hey, you're going to be tutoring an absurd amount. Like, just every single turn, you're probably going to tutor multiple times in that turn. It's going to take absolutely forever for you to look through your deck, find the card that you want, and then, reshuffle your deck, get someone else to cut it, and then, probably, cast another aura. Or, there are certain auras that you can bounce back to your hand and recast. So you can just keep doing this again and again and again, an absurd amount of times in a turn. Again, where you, again, might not, be intending to take up all the time of the table, but you kind of are. Because, yeah, it's just going to take an absurd amount of time to actually go tutor for everything. Now, if this was on a digital platform, sure, you could try to do it quicker. I only play in paper, though. So yeah, I think Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice, because of the absurd amount of time it's going to take to actually get the deck to do what you want it to do, and also it can be pretty repetitive, too. Light-Paws, I am passing on you. Moving on, Hinata Dawn Crowned, a very interesting commander, one that I definitely thought was broken right away, and I'm pretty sure it's still pretty broken. A 4/4 flying trampling Kieran Spirit that costs 1 blue, red, white. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each target. Spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. This commander to me is just kind of, again, broken and a bit obnoxious. You didn't really need that second part on this commander to, ensure this would be a good commander. I don't know why Wizards threw that on there too. But basically, yeah, your opponents are going to have a harder time dealing with your things. There's certain things they're really not going to be able to cast at all, like an Aether Gale. Good luck casting your Aether Gale for 11 mana. Versus all of your things, yeah, you can do some pretty absurd things. Just casting, spells for next to no mana, essentially, that have some incredibly powerful and pretty broken effects. Yeah, just overall, again, I thought that the concept for this one was pretty interesting. They just pushed it a bit too far, and because they pushed it that far, just kind of made it just not fun for me, where I felt like, if you're bringing it to the table, at least for myself, if I'm bringing it to the table, I wouldn't really feel all that fair about doing so, even on a budget. So yeah, Hinata, Dawn Crowned, going to be passing on you. So, next up, now this one is pretty self-explanatory if you've seen one of my episodes on Tergrid. I think my first episode on Tergrid, I think I called Tergrid the God of Salt instead of the God of Fright. But regardless, a 4/5 God with Menace that costs 3 black. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. And actually on the backside, there is an artifact that can pretty easily go infinite. I mean, you can just win, I guess, if you have infinite mana is what I'm saying. But regardless, this is a side of Tergrid that is problematic in my point of view, and it's something that, I wouldn't feel good about actually building a deck around it. You either would just be completely denying your opponents of resources in very easy and simple ways, and then taking advantage of that in a very easy and simple way. The way that they designed this one just seems very much like easy mode, where it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, you can basically just chuck any number of sacrifice effects, any number of discard effects, essentially, into a deck around Tergrid, and you're going to have a powerful deck. Again, it's kind of like Elesh Norn to me a little bit, where it's like, hey, yeah, sure, just here's your path to build. Just do whatever, essentially, within that, and you're going to have a pretty powerful, and also, in my opinion, a pretty annoying deck. One that, again, is reminiscent of, It That Betrays, and It That Betrays is like, an absurdly expensive card, mana-wise, so yeah, there's a reason why it's not a commander and why it costs a ton of mana, whereas this one is 5 mana. Just a bit too easy to use and abuse, in my opinion. So yeah, Tergrid, I'm going to be passing on you. Next up, Nekusar the Mindrazer. Now this one's kind of not I'm not going to call it Tergrid. It's definitely not Tergrid, but it is kind of similar in why I don't want to build around Nekusar. A pretty old commander, one that's been around for a long time. But yeah, Nekusar, I'm going to be passing on you for a couple of reasons. First up, beginning of each player's draw step, the player draws this card. And then also, whenever an opponent draws a card, Nekusar is going to do 1 damage to that player. Now, Nekusar really benefits from a very specific thing, and that is going to be any wheel-type effect. Wheel-type cards, basically like, hey, everyone discards, everyone draws. Like a windfall, essentially. Hey, we all discard our cards, we draw cards equal to the greatest, or we draw back up to 7. Regardless, there are a ton of those kinds of effects, and whereas that's going to benefit you a lot for utilizing them, it's going to really hamper your opponents in being able to kind of just actually do anything. I mean, to plan anything, I should say. If you just keep wheeling again and again and again, you're going to be drawing into more wheels, because go figure, you just filled your entire deck with a ton of wheels for this commander that benefits you by wheeling, obviously. And then your opponents, well, again, probably can't really get a grip on what they're trying to do because you're wheeling again and again and again so often. Yeah, it's probably going to go decently quickly, hopefully, with this kind of a commander to take them out. But again, this is kind of just one, in my opinion, where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, this commander benefits from wheels. There's enough wheel effects essentially out there where you can just win by chucking a ton of wheels into the deck. It doesn't really appeal to me all that much. It doesn't seem all that fun to myself. So yeah, Nekusar, because of all that, I'm going to be passing on you. Next up, how about Kalamax the Stormsire, which, in my opinion, kind of has a similar problem to Nekusar, where, yeah, you could just build in a completely different way than, what Nekusar wants to do. Like, okay, sure, I won't use any wheels. Oh, okay, sure, you could do that. Kalamax Stormsire, in the same kind of way, this very easily goes infinite with basically any instant speed copy spell, essentially, is what you're going to be doing. Because whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, if Kalamax is tapped, you copy that spell and choose targets for the copy. Whenever you copy an instant spell, you get a counter on Kalamax. So basically, if you are casting an instant speed copy spell, you can just have it infinitely copy itself again and again and again, making Kalamax infinitely large. Plenty of ways to win from there, etc., etc., etc. Or just take advantage of, your instant speed copy spells as well by, Magecraft triggers, etc., etc., etc. it's just a bit too on wheels again for me. It's just a bit too easy. I mean, the deck kind of builds itself where it's like, yeah, just, cast a copy spell. Cool. You basically win. Congratulations. Now do it again. Shuffle up and do it again. So yeah. Again, like Nekusar, it's just kind of a commander that's just a bit too on rails for me and just a bit too easy in my opinion. So yeah, Kalamax Stormsire, I'm going to be passing on you. Next up, Animar, Soul of Elements. So this one actually kind of combines a couple of things I've already talked about on this episode for some other commanders. Animar is a 1/1 elemental with probe white, probe black. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get a counter on Animar. Creature spells you cast cost 1 to cast for each, counter on Animar. Now basically, yeah, this one again, just a bit too easy, a bit too on rails, and yeah, cost reduction is an incredibly powerful thing. I already talked about why. Well, with Urza, I wouldn't be building around Urza because of that cost reduction, really. And now the same kind of thing with Animar when it comes to that. I mean, more like Hinata, I guess, levels of cost reduction, though. And to the point with certain creatures that you can definitely cast them for free and do some very broken things. Yeah, Animar just is a bit too simple for me, a bit too easy. There's some really cool and powerful things that you can do, but it's also a commander that in some ways can be a bit like, well, Artifact Storm in a way, but it's more like Creature Storm because there are definitely some combos that you can pull off and some chains that you can pull off with this amount of cost reduction. So yeah, because of a lot of the factors that I talked about on this episode, Animar, I'm skipping on you. Moving on, an incredibly powerful commander that I'm going to be skipping on is Korvold, Fae-Cursed King. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you sacrifice another permanent. That's not the problem. The problem is, whenever you sacrifice a permanent, you get a counter on Korvold and draw a card. Now, goodness gracious, drawing a card is absolutely absurd whenever you sacrifice any permanent. And this could have been solved in many ways. It could have been fixed in many ways. But they did not specify, like, non-token permanent. That would have been one of the major solves for this. Maybe even non-land permanent. That would have helped out quite a bit as well. Because, yeah, you cast a Harrow, sacrifice a land, go get 2, essentially. Hey, okay, draw a card on top of that. Or just sacrificing a fetch land or Evolving Wilds, essentially. Yeah, you're drawing a card when you do that. So, yeah, or sacrificing a treasure, obviously, since I said, non-token is not included. Yeah, sacrificing treasures, you're going to be drawing cards as well. So, like, a Brass's Bounty is now, a draw 7 spell or whatnot if you got 7 lands on top of, just being able to give you a lot of mana. Yeah, Korvold can lead to some really, really long turns. It can do some very, very absurd things. And of course, also, I mean, they just also tacked on there that Korvold also gets larger every single time you sacrifice a permanent. So it can also just be a one-shot commander KO quite quickly. So this commander, in my opinion, is definitely overpowered. It can do some pretty obnoxious things, have some turns that are a bit too long. And yeah, for all those reasons, Korvold, I'm going to be passing on you. And finally, yet another dragon that I'm going to be passing on, but a much older dragon, the Dragon, a 10/10 dragon avatar that costs 4 in Wooburg. It's got Eminence as long as it's in the command zone on the battlefield. Other dragon spells you cast cost 1 to cast. It's got Flying. Whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards. Then you may put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield. Now, the reason I am actually passing on this one is, well, just in general, I really, really, really don't like Eminence. I think Eminence is one of Wizards' biggest mistakes when it comes to a keyword, a mechanic, essentially. It's kind of unfair. Just Eminence is, hey, basically, okay, I have this effect. You kind of just basically have an emblem, essentially, that you just start off with. And you just get an additional benefit, and your opponents cannot interact with it. They just literally cannot interact with it. Now, sure, you could say that, okay, yeah, well, you play your dragon, it's on the battlefield, you still have it, but what if your opponent bounces it back to your hand or something like that? Sure. Okay, in that case, if you were to get it back to your hand, then yes, Eminence would be stopped. But from the get-go, the dragon is just going to be providing an absurd amount of value. Again, cost reduction, even if it's just 1, is a ton throughout the game. And of course, on top of that, yeah, when this actually does come into play, you're going to be having a massive turn with it. So I know there's a lot of dragon fans out there. There's a lot of fans of other, Eminence commanders as well. Edgar Markov, I'm looking at you. But yeah, for me, I personally really don't see myself building around any Eminence commanders, especially the Dragon and Edgar Markov anytime soon. So yeah, I'm going to be passing on this one. And with that, today's episode is coming to a close. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.